welcome our next guest, Sibuor. Hello, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good and yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I've had a day full of teaching guitar on Zoom, so I'm very feel like I've got Zoom eyes at the moment,
Yes,
staring at my screen.
yes.
How's your day been?
There's a
What have you
thing there's a thing called Zoom fatigue. I've had it before and
been? Okay, it's a real situation.
it's a real thing. Yes. But I'm sure you've got some very happy students
You know,
after today.
well, I hope so. I hope so. I feel like the kids are definitely ready to be going back to school in a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's your day been? What
Um
have you been up to?
it's been good. Aside from working, which is very unaristocratic, but it has to be done. Um I've been putting together I'm working on a new album this year, which I'll tell you about. I've been sort of
Mhm.
like putting together like the social media announcement.
Oh,
Like
cool.
I announced it to my emailing list and my Patreon last week. So I'm busy announcing it on social media today.
Great.
Um, so it's been good. I went
Well,
for some walks in the park.
lovely.
One walk in the park. One.
Hey, one walk is better than none. It has to be done. Well, that's all
Yes.
very exciting stuff, though. We'll chat about your upcoming projects as well.
Yes.
And definitely, I would say it's worth checking out this on YouTube later on for your sparkly jacket, if anything else. Lovely.
Yes. There's actually quite a cool story behind this jacket if you
Oh,
want to hear it.
yes, absolutely. Tell us.
Ah, so about
How's nice.
4 years ago, I came over to London. Um, there's a Jewish learning conference thing called Limud, which I came over for, and I spent a couple of days in London and went shopping up a storm. Um,
Great.
and I saw this jacket in Zara, and it was quite expensive. So I was like, oh no, I can't. And I put it down and left, went back home. And for the last 4 years, like it's been one of my biggest regrets. And then a couple of months ago, I was walking past a charity store just down the road from me, and I saw this in there for like next to nothing. And I was like, okay, I'm taking it. I don't care if it's too small, and it is too small, but I don't care.
Don't care.
And so, yeah,
Get that jacket. Great. Well,
yeah,
I appreciate a bit of
but,
sparkle.
yes.
Lovely. um, so you have been in London now in terms of living here. How long?
um, since August 2019.
Okay, cool.
What is that?
Yeah,
It's like a year and a half, I
yeah, a
think.
year and a half now. Oh, so you did have a bit of London experience before
Yes,
COVID hit. Okay, that's
yes, yes,
good. I know how. So you're from South Africa originally.
yes, yes.
Whereabouts are you from in South Africa?
So originally I'm from Durban, which is on the East Coast.
Hmm.
My parents are actually, my entire family is from here. We are Mancunians, but my sister and I were born and raised in South Africa. Um, and then for about the last 12 years, I lived in Cape Town, so East to West Coast.
Great.
Um, yeah.
And how are you finding it being in London at the moment? Obviously, quite a strange time to be here, but
Uh, um,
you could be honest. It's absolutely fine.
I love London. Um, I could do with less of winter.
Hmm.
Um, I know I've been here so many times, and I'm not a winter boy at all. I grew up on the coast. I've lived all my life on the coast, and so it was difficult. That has been quite difficult. Obviously, with the lockdown, that's made things uniquely challenging. Um, but it's cool to not be a tourist in London for the
Yeah.
first time, to be actually living here and getting to sort of experience life here
Mhm.
and and what it has to offer, despite not being able to do very much.
Yeah.
Um, it was the first time that I've ever spent summer in the UK. August 2019, which I think is like the end of summer here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my first summer, and I I could not get over how hot it gets.
Mm.
Like it's on par with like Cape Town,
Oh,
how hot.
really? Oh, wow.
And yes, nobody has fans. Nobody
Oh,
has
yeah.
fans here.
No.
I if it were that hot for one day of the year, I would have a special fan put away for that one day. I died.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
been
We're
good.
just like we're not prepared for. We talk about
No,
the weather all the
mm-mm,
time, but we're not prepared for it.
no.
So,
Summer on the tube is an experience.
yeah, for sure. It's a sweaty experience.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, what's like? Well, we got to meet each other in real life in the last while as well, which was very nice.
we did.
We had a nice
Yeah,
London walk, which was cool, and I feel like you're
yeah.
of all the loads of people I've met online over this last kind of year, you're sort of one of the few people that I've got to meet in real life, which is quite nice. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you haven't run away from London just yet. So so tell us a little bit about your kind of what has brought you to this point in your kind of music life, and what was the making of Sibuor back over in South Africa and I guess elsewhere as well. But yeah, what kind of brought your music to this point?
um, I mean, I've always enjoyed music. I mean, I started playing piano when I was 4. I have vivid memories of like sitting in my dad's car, and is it the cubby hole, the thing on the passenger seat, and
Uh,
like
mhm. I think so.
whatever that thing that you pull down,
Yeah.
the little cupboard area, and like playing
Oh
the
yeah.
piano, pretending to play the piano on
Oh,
that
glove
and
glove compartment.
glove compartment. That's it. Yeah. And you know, it's always been in my life. It's always been the one thing that's given me goosebumps, the one thing that's allowed me to live in sort of like an imaginary world. um, I strangely enough, though, I didn't go into music. I went into politics, and I did politics in South Africa for about
Mm.
7 or 8 years. Um, I worked in the nonprofit sector, and then I worked for the American Embassy as a political analyst, which sounds very grand. Um, and I just got to a point where I was like, okay, I can't do this. Like, I'm not an office person. This is not how I see my life. And I just, I'm not actually sure what the moment was. I do remember I called in sick, um, and I went to the music store down the road and I bought like a keyboard recording equipment. I was like, right, okay, can I swear? Yeah,
Yeah, I'll cut it out of the radio for YouTube. It's fine.
okay. Well, I was like,
Hmm.
this is what I'm gonna do. So yeah, about 4 years, actually 4 years ago today. Wow, that's amazing. I got a
That's
notification
funny.
on Instagram
Hmm.
today saying that I posted a picture of like my recording equipment,
Oh, cool.
and that was 4 years ago today.
Very
Um,
cool.
which is very
Celebration.
cool. And yeah, and yeah, I've just been sort of like exploring my sound, what I want to do. You know, like when I first started in music, I had visions of being the next Madonna, and then I'm
Hey,
not joking.
that could still happen, and that's absolutely a good vision.
I would look ridiculous in a cone bra. That's what I'm saying. So
Never say never.
that would nope. Um, and you know, I kind of like played around with different sounds. Like I went for a very pop sound and a very electronic sound. Um, and now I'm at a point where I'm very comfortable in what I want to do with music and my ideas about music and art and who I am as a musician and as a performer. Um, so that's how I kind of got to this point. And London has been critical in sort of like
Hmm.
getting me to that point, in
Okay.
really sort of like forcing me to think very carefully. And it's not the sexiest of word, but very strategically
Hmm.
um, about my career and the things that I want to do.
Mm.
Um, it's been a baptism of fire.
Well, yeah, I can see that in London. And big cities, I guess, in general, can definitely be in that kind of vein of
Yeah,
baptisms, I think. Um,
yeah.
but
I
yeah,
need to
well,
tell you,
yeah, go
I
on.
need to tell you though where Sibuor came from.
Yes.
Um,
Well, it was one
so
of my.
so I was hunting around for a stage name, um, and a friend of mine from Kenya that I used to work with, I was talking to her about it, and she very sweetly went home and spoke to her husband about it, who's also Kenyan. And he's from a tribe in Kenya called the Luo tribe, and they speak a language called, I think it's called Doluo.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a word in Doluo called Sibuor, which means, it means somebody who's got uh, courage, but it either means lion, but it also means somebody who has courage, or it means someone who has courage, but it can also mean lion. I don't know which one it is,
Okay.
but but it and I was just like, okay, that works. It's a bit difficult to pronounce,
Mm.
but I was like, that really works for me. And back then I had the hair, so it kind of like it worked for the lion aspect.
That's
Um,
cool. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's really good
yeah,
to know, actually. Yeah. I love that. I love hearing all the ideas behind sort of stage names. I think because quite a lot of people do, just even if they sort of change it up a little bit and stuff. But I think it's really interesting to find that. Do you think it helps you, like in terms of separating you from your music, in terms of like the personas,
um,
or is that even?
that's a good question actually. I think so. I think. Can I get back to you on that one?
Yeah,
uh,
think about that.
uh,
That's
uh,
absolutely fine.
I would say yes, it does. Like I would say there's, and particularly over sort of like the last year, like I've really been sort of like filling my shoes more comfortably and
Hmm.
getting into the Sibuor
Yeah,
uh,
whatever
persona.
that may be. But
Uh,
also, I guess another part of that, which I found in terms of kind of doing, yeah, just like pushing my own music and stuff a little bit more, is like what you said there, that unsexy word, but strategy. And like you do have to separate the business side of it from the music side as well. And actually, um, sometimes, yeah, thinking of yourself or thinking of the product or the music that you create as a thing is quite helpful
mm,
for the business side of stuff that is a little bit separated from yourself.
yeah,
Um,
and
yeah.
and also for the artistic side, I mean, um, you know, I had to think very carefully artistically what I wanted to do, and it required a lot of sort of like self knowledge. Um, yeah, coming to London, I mean, it's been difficult, but it's really helped to sort of like just focus my focus.
Mm,
um, uh, you know, and particularly artistically figure out what it is that I want to do, what I'm comfortable with doing, what I'm not comfortable with doing.
yeah.
But I'll tell you more about it in my next album.
Great. And we will find out all about that a little bit. So, okay, talking of Madonna, what other musical inspirations have you aspired to or enjoyed along your way?
That don't involve Madonna.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can just talk about Madonna if you want. That's fine.
No, I'm not giving her free publicity. Um, the first um, for some reason, um, I've only ever liked women musicians.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I have my thoughts about that, but that's a separate conversation. But I can remember being 4 or 5 years old and just loving Tina Turner. I was obsessed with Tina Turner. And in 1995, she came to, I think it was 95, she came to South Africa and my dad took me. And I mean, we were miles away from her. So she was like that big. And it was port, never ever tour in Durban in summer because it's like monsoon weather. So it
Okay.
just poured down with rain. But for me, it was just, oh, it was magic.
Mm.
Um, she, I think she really inspired my love of uh, having a good time, um, as in, just rocking and just letting your hair down and just having fun. It's She really sort of like started that for me. Um, then I went into my Madonna phase. I call them phases, and um, I learned a lot from her. She is a very, very clever person, as a business person,
Yeah.
as an artist, very, very clever. And I learned a lot from her. And then I kind of, as I got into my angsty teen years, then I started turning to like Tori Amos, Björk,
Mhm.
um, oh, Alanis Morissette.
Mhm.
Um, but I'd say like of those three, like Tori Amos uh, really deeply resonated with me.
What
Um,
resonated about her so much?
um, Aside from the piano, I love the piano. I really like uh, her rawness, particularly sort of like in her
Mm.
early days. Um, and I like how dedicated her fan base is. I don't know how much you know about them, but they're obsessed Tori Amos fans. I
Okay.
mean, I it's quite common to hear of people, like particularly in the States, where they've literally gone to every show that she's done in the
Wow.
States, and that's a couple hundred shows.
Cool.
Um,
Okay.
I would never do that.
I
Um,
guess you need to have a lot of money to do to do that also, or just only spend your money on that maybe.
yes. um, yeah, I would say. And then they've been. I really, really like Björk. Björk. I think
Mm.
she's such an interesting musician, and I just love how she pushes boundaries electronically, commercially, artistically with her music.
Mm.
Um, she's a really, really cool person. I really
Yeah,
like
yeah,
her. I'd love
definitely.
to meet her.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. That'd be so fun. Um,
yes,
yeah, and yeah, I feel like I'm always like, I feel like I feel like I need to like spend some time going into her back catalog a lot more than I have done. But I feel like whenever I hear something new, I'm always like surprised and like or
yes,
just like, oh, that's interesting. And like I think that's
yes,
just such a amazing thing for such a big artist to still kind of
yes,
be doing that
yes.
with each new project. So that's cool. So yeah,
And
excellent.
I think the other thing that I like about Björk is her. She's got a very strong connection to her home, which is Iceland.
Mm,
Um, and for me, um, I have a very, very strong connection to South Africa. I mean, even though I'm basically British. I mean, I've got no family that is from South Africa. I just grew up there. Um, it's I have an incredibly strong connection to it,
mm.
um, and that also resonates with me. Um,
Does
with
that
Björk.
come out? Do you use that in your music?
Um, I try to. Um, like there was a song that I wrote called Oliver, which uses a couple of South Africanisms in it, in terms of the lyrics. Uh, there was a song which I co-wrote with a friend of mine back in Cape Town, in a genre of music called Quop.
Okay.
Um, and uh, it's almost like house music, but it's got a very particular beat and sound to it. It's
Mm,
really cool. I really, really like it.
cool.
Um, I but generally Africa, I'm very interested in music. Like I'm fascinated by Ethiopian music.
Mm,
Um, so there was one song that I did, Tigers, which incorporated a little Ethiopian scale in it,
nice.
which is very cool.
Yeah. No, amazing. Great to great to try all these different influences as well. Um, so your newest project, I think it's time to like chat a little bit about what is coming up around that. Because I know you told me a little bit about this as well, and it sounds really interesting. And from what I remember, quite like story driven, I think, and sort of tales. But
Mhm.
yeah, what's it all about, and what can we expect, and when can we expect it as well?
Um, well, I've decided to work on an album, which I'm going to release uh, sort of as singles and then put it together as an album. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but that's the idea. Um, and it's called Songlines. Um, uh, I was a few months ago, I was reading an article about Australian Aboriginal people's beliefs, and they have a belief. Well, they in their creation myth, the gods did all these epic journeys across Australia, and uh, they sing songs about those journeys, sort of like recounting what happened. And those songs also help them navigate the land. It helps them connect to the land and connect to their identities and stuff. And I really, really like this concept. Like it's so fascinating, and there's so many different stories around it. On each language group will have their own song lines that they sing and pass
Okay.
down the generations.
Mm.
Um, so I was like, okay, that's very interesting. Like, I wonder what my song lines would be. Um, and yeah, as soon as I thought of it, I was like, okay, that has to be the title of the album. And basically, what I want to do is it's going to be a series of songs which will be, let's just say at the very least, will be inspired by sort of moments in my life. I don't know if they'll be about my life, but I want to look at those moments through the frame of trauma and healing. Um, Last year, with everything, I'm still very much a political creature. And so I was following what was going on in the US last year, and it was traumatic. It
Mm.
was so traumatic. And it got me thinking a lot about trauma, and particularly when I would see how people would react on social media. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that there's so many moments in our lives which are traumatic, and which we either don't realize are traumatic, or we suppress them, or we just don't have time to think about them, or whatever. And they all shape our lives in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to sort of write songs that deal with different not traumatic moments, but moments of trauma. I make it sound like, I had this terrible life or whatever. I didn't. I had a very nice life as a child, growing up in the forests and stuff. But yeah, so that's essentially what I want to do. I'm working on a couple of songs at the moment, which the plan is to release them in May,
Okay.
and then to kind of like release 3 or 4 every quarter until
Mm.
the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's inspired by moments of trauma in my life. So I want to look at particular genres of music. Like there's a genre of music which I recently just discovered called hauntology, um, which is really interesting. It's quite spooky to listen to, obviously, and it deals with sort of like recurring themes and motifs and stuff. And then I want to look at other genres like future garage, which has got a more inspiring, more uh, serene kind of like feel to it. And I want to try and find a way to put them together and try and encapsulate that trauma, but also that healing part of it.
Mm.
Um, I've been watching a lot of horror films.
Mm-hmm.
I studied film when I was at university, and I love films, and I particularly love horror films. Um, and I've been looking at sort of how anxiety plays in horror films,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that into my music. There's a form of uh, uh, German horror films from like I think the 1920s called German Expressionism, and I really want to bring in the visual element of that into the artwork of it. I make it sound so like heavy and stuff. It's going to be uplifting.
Is it? And will it be like quite like film scoric, like music, or is it more like songs, but that are influenced by that?
No, it's going to be songs, but it's I want to try and find a way to incorporate all those different sort of like influences into it, and write something that is. I want to do something that's very unique to me. This goes back to sort of like what I was saying about, you know, thinking strategically, artistically about what I want to do. You know, I want to keep. I don't want to sort of end up meandering into sort of like mainstream pop. I've got nothing against it, and you know, I love it and whatever, but it's not what I want to do. Because you know, mainstream pop, it's a very narrow niche, and I want to talk about things which are sort of like outside of that niche. I always believe that sometimes you need to be made uncomfortable in order to experience something beautiful.
Well, I guess it's much more of a kind of art view of it, I guess, instead of maybe like music or music as art, I guess, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And do you, in terms of your release then, so I know that because you have a Patreon as well, right? Is the music going to be released like everywhere, like streaming, etc., etc., or is it going to be more through like a channel like Patreon?
No, the plan is so the songs that I'm going to release commercially, publicly, they'll be available everywhere. What I do for my patrons and mailing list subscribers is sometimes I'll give them stuff, you know, which is exclusive to them. They always get early access to music. I always try and release music about a week or two before on Patreon and stuff, before I release it publicly. But yeah, it's going to be everywhere. Like the stuff. So what I want to do is I want to write a bunch of demos, perform them for people, and see which gets sort of like the most traction. And then I'll mostly end up producing those songs. And then the other songs, like I want to use them, you know, give them away as like little gifts to, you know, patrons and stuff like that. Like the B-sides almost. But I hate that phrase, the B-sides.
And for anyone who is a musician thinking about going down the Patreon route, would you recommend it?
Yes, just don't do it the way I did it. Which is like the worst way to do it. Like I just started on Patreon, and you know, you really need to have like a big established following who are just like dying to support you. And when I started it, I didn't have that. So you know, I kind of like I reached the pinnacle, and then I reached like the highest number of patrons that I've had, and then it kind of like just stayed there. It's a lot of hard work, so it's better to go into it, you know, once you've got your fans like obsessed and crazy for you.
So once you've got the Tori Amos fan situation, that's what to aim for. Speaking about some other people who are like using Twitch much more and like taking their music off, like streaming services and so on, and like and obviously Bandcamp as well in this last year, you know, been like doing the Bandcamp Fridays or whatever they call it as well. And I think it's just interesting to see what all the different methods there are, and I mean they all take a lot of work, and I think it is a lot of work in general, but it's good to know that there are other methods other than you just must be on one particular streaming service.
Yeah, you very much need to sort of go onto it and commit to it and have like a strategy in place. You can do it the way I did it. I mean, a lot of people do that, but it's just don't forget that the best way to do it is the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get those fans.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I mean, we're very much looking forward to seeing this new music this year as well. And
If anybody does want to join my
yeah, well, I
Patreon,
was
they
just going
can.
to say, if you want a sneak preview, is that where to go? How do we
It
how do
is.
we find you? How do you become?
So just go to Patreon. So it's patreon.com / and then just type in Sibuor, which is Sibuor, and you will see me, and you can support me there.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a few tiers. They call them tiers, like that you can subscribe to. Where you can get all sorts of stuff. It's very cool. Go and support me.
Okay. You heard it. You heard it here. Go and do it. Well, I mean, it sounds like you've got so many cool projects bubbling away underneath. Great. This is where to go to find first
Yeah,
access.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for 2021.
Great. Oh, it's good to see. It's good to
cool.
see that excitement. I can feel it. I can feel it coming off. Feel that there's like creativity happening, which is very nice to see. Share some of that with me, please. I feel like I need some of that. No, that's great. Well, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for dropping by. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you again somewhere in London.
Yes.
For more walks.
Yes, we will see each other.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe even do some live gigs. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes. When the lockdown ends, whenever that is.
Yeah, let's see.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like spring's coming and I feel like good things are coming. I'm just telling myself that anyway. So
when is spring here?
I don't know. I mean, the flowers are out, so I feel like it's going to get cold again really soon. So yeah.
Oh no! Don't say that.
You can't predict. The seasons are all a bit weird. So yeah, sorry.
It's just teasing you. Like one day it's like 15 degrees, which is still cold.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly drops down to like 7. You're just like, oh.
Yeah. It's playing with you, messing you around. Well, lovely chatting. Take care. Good luck with all the creativity. Look forward to seeing it all.
Yes. Thank you. I will be sure to let you know.
Fab.
Cool.
Thank you. Bye-bye.